who's paying the bills for your favorite politician? Do you know? Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Niresh Eliathambi. 2 days ago was the deadline for all presidential candidates to submit their accounts, but several of them failed to do so. But even those who did, we don't know what their expenditure was, who contributed. All that, of course, we will know in the course of time, but isn't it too late? Don't we need to change these laws? And to discuss this and other matters, we have with us Mr. Manjula Gajanayake, Executive Director of IRES, which is one of those organizations which is a watchdog of democracy. Welcome, Manjula.
Hi, thanks for having me into this discussion.
So, Manjula, let's get right down to it. What's the point of accounts a month after the election? What if we learn that some drug dealer has bankrolled one of the ministers or whoever's going to be appointed as a minister? What are we supposed to do with that information? Challenge it in court now? Don't you think this law is weak? Shouldn't we have some changes? What are your views on this?
Yeah, thanks. It is a valid point and as well as a question. However, let me to say this actually, this is very first time introduce this kind of law actually that the election reform, one of election reform process, one of main components of current election reform process. Then you know that before 1977 we had a golden rule on campaign finance. Accordingly, more than 11 parliamentarians had removed from parliament using earlier campaign finance law. However, at that time that campaign finance law imposed only for candidates, but this time this current law actually it has imposed not only for candidates, it is for politicians, political parties also. When it comes to the point what you mentioned here, that yes, it is true that as citizens we will be able to see all the reports after almost 1 month issuing election results. Now the 13th was the deadline for submitting all those reports. However, when it before come to that point, let me to say that this is a remarkable, wonderful, golden opportunity in Sri Lanka, because at least voters are empowered to know what was the expenditure spent by the money spent by candidates, as well as how political parties campaign and raised money for their all the political campaign activities. While saying that these things actually after 1 month, yes, that is the formulation, that is the framework of this law, but there may be some other suggestions.
Manjula, democracy is a living, breathing thing. It's not like the annual report of a company where shareholders will read it and then go to the AGM and vote for new directors and so on. This is something which affects 22 million people. So we can't be delaying on these matters. In some democracies, the situation is that when a donor donates some money to any politician or political party, immediately that is put up on the internet. Anyone can access it.
True.
So you see who's donating how much to whom. And then that will naturally affect how people vote for that particular party or candidate, which is as it should be.
Yeah.
Because the cornerstone of democracy is to have an informed set of voters. Voters must know everything about their candidates and political parties.
Yeah.
Now, in this situation, and I am referring here to the Regulation of Election Expenditure Act number 3 of 2023, just last year. Nice act, very happy to have it, but it is not complete. It is an act which is after the fact, 1 month after the election.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do 1 month after an election when a president has set his cabinet, his or her cabinet, and I'm not referring to this president, I am just saying in general. Then the ministry secretaries have been appointed, decisions have been taken. Now, is he supposed to be removed?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Don't you agree?
That is the articulation. That is the way of drafted that law. Because that the first thing is that at least now we have a law that is why actually Mr. Niresh, you and me and as well as others can raise these questions, because at least now we have a law. After 1977 we didn't have such things. Then at least now we can suggest some reforms as well as some suggestions, because in this way this is a cornerstone to reform our electoral process. Not only that, there are some other laws also. Okay, let me to start with this. Now I know that as you correctly mentioned, even before starting this discussion, I observed that the Kamala Harris already surpassed the surpassed that 1 billion rupee dollar. Up to now, actually, she has raised more than 1 billion, and as you correctly mentioned, we can track who and who has contributed into their account, as even American Federal Election Commission.
So, Manjula, you and I know how much funds Kamala Harris has raised, which is of very little interest to us.
Yeah.
But we don't know about our own candidates, all 38 of them.
Yeah. Regarding that, 2 points. One thing is that actually we have not empowered that application, because I think that I will take account to that that your suggestion is so valid. But you know that if we have suggested this particular point into the first phase of this Campaign Expenditure Act, what will happen? Actually, the empowering, the approval process should go through the parliament. Parliamentarians are in the critical position, and they are the decision makers in the parliament. Then we need to obtain the approval from them. If we have included such provision into the act, I'm pretty sure that they will not approve. At least now we have that. You know that we can't expect comprehensive law in this global. I mean, even in Sri Lanka, then at least my position is that now we have a basic law. We can suggest we can improve this, providing some more inputs.
Manjula, with all due respect, Parliament is a place where in the past a lot of useless laws have been passed.
Agreed.
Which are just passed because maybe the IMF wants it, or somebody else wants it, the president wants it, some cabinet minister wants it, and then nothing happens, or it's just used for political victimization. But the required laws are those which come from civil society, organizations such as yours, and of course institutions like the Elections Commission and so on, and all the other authorities. If it's tourism, it could come from the Tourism Development Authority and so on. So waiting for Parliament to act is, well, what's the point of that, right?
Unfortunately, we have to go through Parliament.
Yes, but Parliament has to be pushed to take proper action for the benefit of society. Now, the situation as it stands, now the Election Commission has received the reports, the accounts from most of the candidates.
Yeah.
And I think you have some kind of analysis there where I think 3 candidates have not submitted their accounts on time. 35 candidates have. But there are some discrepancies, I think, in 7 or 8 of them.
8.
What is that?
Thanks. According to this law, actually, we have to explain that also. But before coming to that, adding something what you asked, actually, even not only Kamala Harris, even if we can search Google, actually, we can realize that how much assets that maybe Modi has, that even other countries and even opposition leaders, Rahul Gandhi has. Like that, actually, even asset declaration. Even coming into that point, according to the new Act number 9 of Anti-Corruption Act, unfortunately, that it is a good reform that according to that Act they have suggested to introduce a centralized database on asset and declarations. Unfortunately, now it has now almost maybe 6 months or 9 months has passed, but still they have not done anything related to that. If so, at least we know not only parliamentarian or even government officers, we will be able to know that how much they have, their asset and declaration and everything. That I don't know that even they have touched that part, because we need to see that centralized system.
Again, that's an example of an act being passed in Parliament and then the proper follow-up action hasn't been taken.
Definitely. If we had this time, that at least before going to the polling station, voters can observe what kind of reports they have, and as an informed voter, actually they can vote for them. But unfortunately, that due to the lethargic and lazy work of those government officers as well as policy makers, they have not uploaded, even they have not created anything related to that. When comes to this point related to the reports, there's a provision that all the candidates, not only candidates and political parties, should submit 2 kind of reports. The first thing is that how much they have spent during the campaign period, starting the nomination process, maybe that not only nomination, even after within 5 days of submission of nominations, Election Commission is deciding a threshold. That is the date. After that, the other report is actually what kind of in-kind donations they have received. Accordingly, all the politicians that the political...
So the donations, what's in that? Is it the names of the persons who have made donations to the particular candidate?
Yeah. It is so important that according to the law, you are not allowed to receive anything from government government ministries, boards or anything, as well as non-Sri Lankans. And if you have
so no foreign
shares,
donations.
Foreign donations, as well as if government has more than 50 shares of any company, you are not allowed to take anything. As well as that, as you asked, that when you are receiving anything, you must note down the NIC number or passport number
of the donor,
as well as permanent address or postal address, as well as other details as much as possible. That is that mean you can't any of an unidentified person are not allowed to give any donations.
No anonymous donations.
Yes.
Right.
No,
and also I would assume that the Inland Revenue Department would be looking at this as well, because if someone has donated ₹1 billion to a candidate, Inland Revenue should be looking at that donor's file and saying, well, this person hasn't declared savings of that much, so where is that money coming from?
Yes, definitely, because that when before this act comes to operation, that we had a discussion with Election Commission. First time, after that, Election Commission organized 2 or 3 meetings in Negombo and Colombo, inviting all the stakeholders in that. For those seminars, that Siebok as well as Inland Revenue, Sri Lanka Police, Sri Lanka Administrative Service, and most of relevant agencies were participated. Then they contributed into making some formats as well as some formula into that. That is how Election Commission did this. Accordingly, now up to now, as according to the media communique that issued by Election Commission, it is there were 3 candidates have not submitted their reports, Battaramulle Sielarathanathero, Mr. Sarath Kirthiratna, as well as Mr. Ariyanethiran Pakya Selvam. Actually, they have not submitted their reports, unfortunately, that this one person, this Mr. Ariyanethiran Pakya Selvam, also I think he's contesting in this time for general election.
Oh, I see. So he hasn't submitted his accounts for the last election, and he's now going for the next election.
Yes, we can see according to this particular law, actually they can take some actions. We can discuss that also. Not only that, not only candidates, there are some nominated persons for candidates as
the persons who nominated the particular candidate.
Definitely, because if they are contesting the category of independent candidates, because someone like actually voters can nominate his name as a candidate for the presidential election. Accordingly, the political parties, there are 2 kind of reports that not only receiving, that political parties also should submit their report as well as that nominated person.
Right.
Assigned person.
So if it is a candidate from a party, then the candidate must submit accounts, and the party also must submit accounts.
Definitely.
And then if it is an independent candidate, the independent candidate must submit accounts, and the person who nominated that independent candidate must submit accounts.
That person is the focal point for that particular candidate. Election Commission is contacting him for anything. Unfortunately, that there are 3 persons still they have not submitted, and another 1
3 candidates.
3 candidates, as well as 1 other political parties under the category of other political parties. Actually, there was only 1 political party coming under this category, that other political party, 1 and 3 recognized political parties. Then accordingly, altogether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 political parties and candidates have not submitted their reports additionally to these 3 particular candidates.
So that's a lot of candidates and the persons who are nominating, or parties which are nominating, who haven't submitted their accounts. So they haven't taken this campaign finance law very seriously, have they? And I hope the president and the opposition leader certainly did.
On the very last day, most of candidates have submitted their reports on very last day, 13th of.
That's fine. You have to give them that. But happy to note that the president has, and also the opposition leader.
Now the problem is that we can see now Mr. Ariyanethiran Pakya Selvam is contesting, but if Election Commission can expedite the process, legal process against him, because it is up to the Election Commission, we also going to complain against these particular candidates, then Election Commission can take some
So what's
actions.
the penalty? If you don't submit your accounts, you're a candidate, you don't submit your accounts, what could be the possible penalties?
There are 3 kind of penalties.
And who decides this?
Yeah. The number 1 is that if you have not submitted any of your report, that due reports, that the first one is actually that any of voter can complain before Election Commission. Election Commission should go through the channel of Sri Lanka Police. They have to connect with Sri Lanka Police, and Sri Lanka Police will submit the report before the court. Even that there's a particular provision according to this law. The thing is that if there's any action to be taken, they have to take, the Sri Lanka Police needs the approval of Attorney General.
Now, this seems to be complicating matters. Certainly, certainly the Attorney General, that's fine. Okay, I mean that is the process. But the police, I don't get it. Why are the police involved in this at all?
That's why you may remember that during the electoral reform process, there were many electoral reform process took place in our recent history. Then we always suggested that election commission should be empowered with legal matters, because there should be a separate legal unit, as well as they should have the powers to submit B reports. Unfortunately, they have to go through Sri Lanka police. That's why most of actions are delayed, taken delays actually.
So this is definitely going to delay the process.
Definitely. We know that, and we have given our suggestions to minimize this damage, as well as giving some more powers to the election commission. Unfortunately, still it has not happened, and that if the process is expedited, that up to 100,000 fine can be imposed by a particular court. That is the first one. The second one is that election commission, after the verdict, after the decision given by the court, election commission can remove the political rights of particular person. That's number two. That's why that I highlighted. If Mr. Ariyanethan Pakiyaselvam is contesting in this time, if the process is expedited, election commission took the verdict from court, actually election commission can remove the political rights of this particular candidate. That means that he is not empowered to contest an election and the voting rights. You are not allowed to get registered in annual voter list.
Now, practically speaking, this is silly.
Why?
Because it takes far too long. Now, let's take, no disrespect to Mr. Ariyanethan, right? I'm sure he's a fine, upstanding gentleman. But he is a former member of parliament as well, so he stands a good chance of being re-elected.
And also he has, as he identified himself, was common candidate last time.
Exactly. So he's a person of repute. Now, if he is elected once again, and then a few months down the road, the court finds that he is guilty of this violation, and then his political rights are removed, then he is no longer an MP. So then the choice of the people is not the choice at all, because tens of thousands would vote for him, and then their votes are in vain. So this just seems to be taking far too long.
It is true, however, that our history says actually this is not something strange. You know that in maybe, if I am correct, that maybe 2007 or 2008, Mr. Rajitha Seyararatne removed from parliament after complaining by his fellow parliamentarian Mr. Dilan Pereira, because he proved in the court that Mr. Rajitha Seyararatne had some connection with government entities, I think the Navy, due to some business matters. Then though you are in parliament, if you have done something wrong, then in our past history, our history says that they recorded that they have removed from our parliament. It is not something strange, I guess.
Okay, I'll give you that
Third
one, right? But now let's look at now the accounts are at the moment with the election commission. When do we, the citizens, get to see these accounts?
After 10 days. Now 13th was the deadline to submit all the reports. Now it has passed. Now the deadline was to after 10 days of receiving all the reports, election commission should inform general public that they can observe all the reports. According to this particular law, actually they have to advertise maybe in 3 newspapers in 3 languages that they have received these kind of reports, and they will inform the places that where people can obtain those reports, but we shouldn't forget that if we are going to check those reports, we have to give some money. They have not decided yet. Even when we are obtaining some asset and declaration reports, we have to give nearly 700 rupees. Still they have not decided what should be the amount, but we have to give something.
So let's discuss where this will be available. Is it in every district? Will the Election Commission have an office? Do they have officers in every district where they can have?
They have.
So they could
all the peripheral. I mean, all administrative district. They have 25 election officers, as well as the secretariat at Saranapar Rajagiri. Then those 26 places they can go and obtain any of reports after giving the amount to be decided.
But once again, how practical is this for the citizen?
Yeah.
And I don't mean wonderful organizations such as yours, which will go and of course ferret through all this and pay the 700 or 1000 rupees and get that and all that. But for an ordinary citizen, is it practical? Isn't it more practical to simply put this up on the internet? What's wrong with that? What is with this having to go there and pay as if we are in the 1950s?
100% agreed with you in this time, because actually it is up to them, to Election Commission. We already we already requested to do so. It is up to Election Commission to upload everything, because otherwise that, even as you mentioned correctly, that villagers who are living in periphery areas needs to come to all the way to election officers and obtain and everything after giving maybe nearly 1000 rupees. It is so difficult and not practical. Then the basic thing is that actually they should upload, at least as you mentioned, if they are not willing to upload those things at the beginning as real-time data and statistics, at least they should upload those things. But unfortunately still we are following some traditional benchmark as well as criteria. That's why we need to change this setup. I'm totally agree with you.
Manjula, the word tradition is a bad word in my book. Tradition, you have good traditions and bad traditions. A tradition is a habit. It is something which has come down sometimes decades or generations. It is just a habit. So if it's a good habit, keep it. Eating kiribat on New Year's Day, good habit, keep it, right? But there are bad habits, bad traditions. Get rid of those, change those. That is the way human society progresses. So we can't simply say this is the way it's been done and this is traditional. We need to change things.
Totally agree. That's why I think that the people have a chance now, because we are facing to another critical election, the upcoming general election, parliamentary election. Most of people, we know that they raised their concerns that the failure of parliament, and most of them described as the previous parliament as a failed entity. Then this is the chance to change that, as you mentioned, that the corrections to bad habits into change the bad habits into as good habits. Then this is the chance. Then people can select some of good persons as candidates. Then they will look at these important matters to change.
Well, Manjula, whether you get a good parliament or a bad parliament, and that's of course a matter of opinion. To some people a good parliament is, a parliament is good, to the others it's bad, and so on. But whether you get a good one or a bad one, it is up to us in the media to point these things out with experts like you all, which is why we've seen the application of this particular act, I think, for the first time. It was passed only last year, and this is the first election we've had with this, and we see the glaring lapses, the lacunas in this act.
Definitely.
It needs to be real-time information uploaded. We have to ensure that it's even after the full reports are received that it is put up on the internet and not just kept in an election office? And then finally, tell me what are we supposed to do with these reports? Once these reports come out, okay, now they are, let's say they are in 10 days time, they are available in the election offices. What are we supposed to do with those?
We can do many things. I mean, the very first thing is that it is so important that as we can create an informed voter. Okay, that
but that's too late. It's now after the election.
Yeah, it is true, but I mean that.
So you're saying for the next election,
yeah,
we'll know,
everything will not end it.
Yeah, but the next election could be in five years' time.
Yeah, it is true, but at least then now they can use it to the upcoming parliamentary election as well as we know.
Well, this is a rare case where you have two elections so close together.
Yeah. Within next five years, that all the suggestions, recommendations, actually we need to raise on those platforms. Otherwise, even having this law, also laws stand in demand of civil society organizations. Even Ms. Niresh, you know that in 2015, this basic draft done by civil society organizations, including PAFRL, myself and other organizations. Then that's after that only Election Commission got the idea and promoted this. That is how this started. Then I'm so positive in this aspect because we can give more recommendations and put forward some suggestions to upgrade this law. As you asked,
kudos to you and all the other organizations which pushed this law through, but now it's time to make those amendments and perfect it.
Thanks. Not only us, actually, we know that at those that those times also that you and others also supported to raise awareness among general public. When coming to your particular question, then we can obtain those reports. As election observation missions, there are 6 observation missions coming together and created a web-based application called Ape Chandasalli Meter. Then the campaign finance meter. According to the campaign finance meter, we have uploaded more data, including all the advertisement as well as ground level campaign done by political parties and candidates. Now we have more evidence, then we can compare those reports with those evidence. If not tally with those our reports and the reports submitted by political parties and candidates, if we are seeing something wrong, actually we can complain first Election Commission if they are not taking actions, or even subsequently we can go to court submitting election petition. Unfortunately, we have only 10 days after 23rd November, we have only 10 days to do anything. I mean, submission of election petition or anything, we have only 10 days, very limited time. But those two kind of actions can be taken as election observers as well as citizens.
Well, that particular app by which
Chandasalli Meter, campaign finance meter,
you all try to track
yes.
the expenditure,
yeah.
And it's very creditable, but then you don't get the donation side of it, do you?
Yes, donation side, we have to rely on the report submitted by those candidates if they are as 30 party, yes, as 30 party contributions. If they have not included onto that, once we complain, that CBO, Inland Revenue Department as well as Sri Lanka Police can look those matters, but there should be a well coordinated effort and a mechanism to track everything in partnership with the Election Commission.
Well, I think a key area is take the police out of this, empower the commission. And this commission, I must say, is quite impressive. The way they ran the last election
yes.
was excellent, and hopefully the next election will be just like that. Now, I'm a little confused. The report, the final accounts, when the Election Commission makes it available, 38 sets of accounts.
Yeah.
Now, perhaps you guys, being an election watchdog organization, you may have the resources to, the human resources, and you need accountants basically, to sit down and go through this. And perhaps other political parties will also be doing the same thing, I'm sure. Right. And you all have the legal ability. You can hire lawyers, go to court, so can political parties.
Yes.
Right. Are we expecting, let's say, Farmer Bandara from Monaragala, who gets these reports somehow, he goes to the election office, gets it, and he goes through it. Now he finds that a well-known drug dealer may have contributed to the campaign funds of a particular politician, whether it is a person who became president or a minister or whatever. Now just assume, and again I'm not talking about this government at all, I am talking about any government, any political party which wins, and then you find, oh, this is a well-known drug dealer who is actually wanted by the police for murder, for racketeering, and he has contributed ₹1 billion, right? Now, do we expect that Farmer Bandara from Monaragala to go to court against a sitting president?
In this case, they can take some actions. That's why I already mentioned that there should be a well-coordinated effort and mechanism to track all these. You know that we have Money Laundering Act already in place. Then according to the Money Laundering Act, if there's something strange observed by such a farmer as you mentioned, they can just complain before the police. I mean that we need an impartial police in Sri Lanka. Then if so, they can complain before the police.
Manjula, you're never going to get an impartial police force in this country.
It is true, that is the law and the
former IGP.
Unfortunately, that is the mechanism we need to follow.
No, it is not the mechanism. That's the whole point. This traditional business has to go out the window. It is time for system change. That means, if you're having the police there, and that's not the best way to do it, you have to then figure out a better way. And I'm sorry, but
no, only better way is
you and I and everybody in this country, you can say there are good police officers, but a former Inspector General of Police, he was the IGP at the time, he said in public that 90% of OICs are politically appointed. That means that the area MP has called up the IGP and said, I want this man because he is my cousin. He has to be the OIC, and that guy was appointed the OIC. So if that is the situation of the police, then surely we can't leave such important matters in the hands of the police.
Contrary to that matter, that what they can do, I mean, what as citizens, what expecting to reform this process, that when it comes to, when it comes to election related matters, definitely what we need to do, we need to empower the election commission, as well as basically election commission already, in order to conduct free and fair elections, they can convene other government entities. They can call any reports from those entities. Then if they have they have an empowered unit, something like EDR, election dispute resolution, actually they can address these matters. But who knows, when parallel to system change, we need to address these issues also.
Well, certainly there's a lot of work to be done.
Homework.
By the Elections Commission, the next Parliament, and of course supported by organizations such as yours.
And stakeholders like media.
Absolutely. Now let's get to, we don't have a lot of time left, but let's get to our general election. And there's so far no violence. Wonderful. Let's keep it that way. But Manjula, there's a lot of talk about there being a large number of female candidates this time. Is that correct?
According to my observation, still we are waiting to see nomination papers to be uploaded by Election Commission. They have not uploaded but we know that in 2015 there were 563 female candidates, as well as in 2020 we saw that there were 640 candidates. According to my knowledge, this can be changed. According to my knowledge, there were nearly 800 candidates, but comparing with last time, it is not a high number, because still we have now our voters registration list. There are 17 million registered voters. Comparing with that number, I mean 800 is not a high number. That means that we were expecting that political parties will deploy more female candidates, but unfortunately that as they have followed the same tradition in electoral district, earlier we saw that key political parties, mainstream political parties, have given only one candidacy, one slot for female candidates, except one mainstream political parties. All the political parties have given only one slot for women candidates. Even in other districts, they have not given any chance for women. In this time also, though we were expected to do that more female candidates will follow deploy, but it has not happened.
Well, that's another area of election law which needs to be changed, I feel.
And we have received many complaints that political party secretaries and chief organizers of some political parties have promised to include their names, but unfortunately at the last minute they have removed their names and they have included their closest candidates into list. There are some concerns and complaints. Unfortunately, we can't do anything.
So once again, traditions, bad traditions, bad habits. So what you're saying is we are likely to have a large number of female candidates, larger than in previous elections probably, but still nowhere close to what I mean. The 52% of the population are women, and I think 56% of voters are women. So we may get perhaps 10% of the candidates may be women, but again the list, the nomination list hasn't really come out, has it?
Definitely. Only one observation with me now. You know that the previous parliament, even last parliament, we had only as a percentage only 5.8%. That means 12 women. As the whole, generally the percentage was not percentage number wise only 14 women. It was the high number in our parliament. But this time, I assume that though there are only 800 female candidates, maybe this time it will go. People will elect more than 15 women in this parliament. That is only positive observation.
15 out of 225 is still nothing to talk about. I mean, I would ideally expect, well, not ideally, but at least this time 40 to 50 female MPs. That would be a step in the right direction. But if we're simply going from the earlier 12 to about 20, that's not good enough, is it? Because this is the golden opportunity for system change, and that would be an opportunity lost, because the next elections will be in 5 years' time. So political parties don't seem to have understood the need for change, and this is a major step, isn't it? Because we in the media have been calling for it. I know folks such as you have also been calling for this, but fallen on deaf ears, except for one or two political parties.
Yes, definitely, and even they have not included their names into national list also. We can see even one party has nominated even 2 clergies, monks, into their list, as well as not so-called actually, some that defeated politicians. They are not contesting in this time, but they are in those national list. Unfortunately, that they have robbed the chance of those qualified women, unfortunately. But the thing is, that political party, now one thing we can request, we are as election observers, we always request political party secretaries to nominate as much as female representative into that, nominate into the parliament according, I mean, if they got enough votes in the upcoming parliamentary election.
But Manjula, the national list of every party,
it belongs to the secretary of the political party.
That again, that's something which needs to change, because the intention of the framers of that national list legislation, whatever 40 years ago, was to bring in professionals,
renowned professionals.
So there would be at least 29 professionals in parliament through the national list. But now the national list has become a retirement home, an umbalama,
and the wish list of the political party leader.
For the politicians whose expiry date has long expired.
Retired politicians, heaven.
My goodness me. Right.
And only one thing, please let me to say that let me to wind up through a positive note, that we would like to request all the voters that when you are marking your ballot paper, please give one preferential vote for women.
Excellent advice indeed, and I'm afraid we are out of time. My thanks to Mr. Manjula Gajanayake, Executive Director of IRES. Thank you for being with us once more.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing a lot more from you about the next election and the one after that, the local government one, which is also due. Right. Thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.